Hello, Slicey Dicers. This is Brian with another knife review for you. Today we have the Spyderco Native Chief. As the name would indicate, this is part of the Spyderco Native lineup, your Native 5, your Native 5 Lightweight, all those. The little Native, and it does look that way in that the way it's kind of ergonomically shaped. You can see it's got the forward finger choil. That's usually an indication of the Native line. It's a back lock. Most Natives are back locks. You have the little Native is a compression lock. And the Shaman is also kind of part of this family, and it also is compression lock. But most of them are these back locks. It is just a long, stretched out Native 5. Well, I say just, which that's a really good thing, but it is a lot more than that. They did put a lot of design effort into this. It was released, teased, I guess you'd say, way earlier this year, and then I know I think maybe they showed it at SHOT Show also. I could be wrong about that, but I know it was teased earlier this year. And they've been working on it pretty hard. And I talked to Eric Glesser about it. He's very proud of it. And he should be. This is a really cool knife. And it is a big one. 9.1 inches overall. I'll do the stats and all that stuff shortly. But it's a very long knife. And it's a very well-built knife. You're getting, for $156, get that price out of the way, which I think is perfectly fair for this. You were looking at S30V steel, G10 handles. No liners. Doesn't need them because it has this big, long back lock, which is finished very nicely. Everything is extremely flush, and I know for a fact that even though I did get this straight from Eric Glesser at the Spyderco booth, and he knew who I was, I definitely did not. He was not picky and choose about which one he gave me because this was the last one. So I know that I know I just got whatever he grabbed. I will say they are not available a whole lot of places at this particular moment. I'm recording this on June 11th. And a lot of places have them sold out right now, but they're going to be back in stock in just a couple of weeks. They're making them. It's just that first, the first batches that people got, they spread them out. So some places only got 5 or 10 of them, so they went really, really quick. But they'll be back very, very shortly. This is a full-on regular production model, meaning that we will probably see other versions of it coming up. I would be shocked if we didn't see the usual S110V blurple treatment like they do on so many other knives. And the Native 5 comes that way. This is the same exact configuration as the basic Native 5, so you'd expect it's also going to get that S110V blurple handle treatment. And I may have to grab one of those too, because I do really like this knife. I will do some specs and size comparisons, show you exactly how big this thing is before we talk more about it. You have an overall length of 9.1 inches, blade length of 4.1 inches, blade thickness 0.125 inches, handle thickness of 0.43 inches, and a weight, according to my scales, of 3.91 ounces. That is really light for a knife this big, especially this long. Let's do a few size comparisons. I'm going to do some weird ones here because honestly, most of the time these knives this big aren't quite in my wheelhouse, but I do have a couple here. Let's do one of our regulars. I'm going to save our most regular for last because it's kind of interesting. We will do the Ontario Rat Model 1. I guess we'll line up the pivots on these this time. You can see it's quite a bit longer than a Rat Model 1. We will do, well, this one's not as big, but still, I'm trying to remember to do this more in my regular ones. Your Kershaw Bare Knuckle pretty much dwarfs that. And these two are a bit more rare, but still, just for sizes, it's what I have here that's kind of in this length. This is a Real Steel Archangel. It is pretty similar to that. And it's still a little bit longer. I thought looking at it first, they were closer, but yeah, they're really not. This is still a bit longer. And then we'll do one more, and then I'm going to do one that I want to talk more about more. This is kind of just for interest's sake. This is a Brian Ty and Friends TIE Fighter. This is a big old knife, and it's still quite a bit longer than that. Now, lastly, let's do what my usual comparison is because I want to talk more about this. The one that I bring out the most for size comparisons, your Spyderco Paramilitary 2. Now, we line up the pivots. You can see it's quite a bit longer than the PM2. The PM2 is a much shorter blade, but when you close them up, and this is as we go on, you'll find out probably one of my favorite things about this knife. You close them up, line them up properly there. Now let's do it this way so you can see it better. So they're laying flat. Line up against that line there. Yeah, it's not that much longer, and it's not as tall as the PM2 is. So you're getting a heck of a lot more blade in a very similarly sized package as far as length goes, but in every other dimension, in closed form factor, this is slimmer than the PM2. So for example, you already showed the height. You can see it's a lot slimmer than the PM2 handle, a little bit slimmer than PM2, but again, it's not nearly as tall. It's also, you know, weight wise, it's not that much heavier than that. Yeah, it really is kind of it's just as easy to carry as a PM2, if not easier, because it's so slim and it's not as tall, and you're getting a hell of a lot more blade in it. That is definitely the most impressive part of this knife. But before we get to that, we'll talk more about it in a moment. I'm going to do all my categories in order just to stay professional. Let's talk about this blade first. Yeah, S30V steel. I have no problem with Spyderco's S30V. It's usually pretty good. Pretty thin blade stock for a knife this long, 0.125 inches. If it was a bit less than that, I might be kind of worried because it's such a long blade. I think they went as thin as they could without making anything crazy. The tip is pretty thin on it, but it's not any worse than a Paramilitary 2 or anything like that. And it's about 22 thousandths behind the edge. Pretty average for Spyderco. You're getting that full flat grind. It's a pretty darn good slicer. Excellent piercer. It's a Pearson machine because that nice thin tip, of course, as long as you're not stabbing into a car door or something. But in a pretty good slicer. Edge was pretty good out of the box. All that stuff. It's got the usual, you know, lack of sharpening choil, which annoys me more and more. But didn't expect anything different from it as far as that goes. Now, ergonomically, the next thing I usually talk about. It's pretty excellent. I mean, first of all, it's big. So you know it's not, you know your hands are going to fit on it. There's no worry about getting 4 fingers on this sucker, I can tell you that. Again, I have skinny fingers, but still, man, it just fits on here just fine. It has a forward choil, which I love. This is one of the things, I'm going to bring up the Spyderco Military a lot, because it is a very similar length. I like this ergonomically better than the Military just because you can choke up on it. The Military's got a bit more blade, but it's a thicker blade stock. But yeah, I just love this ergonomically, but you don't really, I like to have, when a blade's this big, I like to be able to choke up, but even if you don't, the ergonomics are great. Pocket clip is fine, no hot spots or anything. It's really good. And I like the level of grippiness that Spyderco puts on their G10, especially on one of their models like this, that, you know, it's a big old knife. It's meant to do some stuff. So it's a little grippy going on in the pocket. We'll talk about that more in a second, but not overly so. It holds it in your hand really, really well. It is a 4-position clip. As we move on to the carry talk, it is a 4-position clip, which is nice. That is one thing you don't get with the Military. And not only that, on the Military, it is tip down only, which a lot of people don't really like that. I know there's a good explanation, yes, for why it is before you get in the comments and say, well, it's that way because I know, but a lot of people do still would prefer, you know, tip up. So it's nice that you have right hand, left hand, tip up, tip down. Uses the same kind of clip like, you know, I think like the Delica and stuff uses the same clip, the Endura, with the lanyard hole through the clip. Yes, you can put a deep carry clip on it. Lots of people make those. And sometimes I complain about, often I complain, whine even, I think I would go as far as saying, about Spyderco and their clip placement. And no, this is not deep carry, but on this knife, I don't care. It's big. It is nice. I'm going to be using this for work kind of stuff. You know, I would like to be able to pull it out of my pocket. I know I'm normally like the deep carry clip evangelist and I'm going off script here, but on this knife, it doesn't bother me. It does go down to the pocket pretty well. Like I said, the G10 is a little grippy, but it's not like pocket destroying. And what's nice about these spoon clips, you just tweak it a little bit and it's going to handle it. So you can see there's still a significant amount of knife sticking out, but when it's in the pocket, for just how giant it is, man, it doesn't feel like it. It just blows me away. I carried it all day yesterday and today, and it's just, man, your hand just goes right by it. I was reaching in my pocket a whole lot. I never, like I said, it's easier in the pocket than a PM2. It's slim handle. When I sit down, it's not jabbing me or anything. There's nothing sharp for your hands to touch as your hands go by. There's no flipper tab sticking out. It's light, 3.9 ounces. It carries awesome for how long it is. I need new Wranglers. I know I keep saying that, but I really need to. These are getting shredded after a long time. But yeah, it carries really, really well. Very, very pleased with that. Deployment, I mean, it's a Spyderco backlock. It's a really good one. And this one, I've only had it for, like I said, I got it at a Blade show. And I flipped it around, played with it in the car driving home. This is mostly what I had in my pocket when I was driving home, and I've used it around the house today, cutting up cardboard and stuff. It's recycling day tomorrow, and it's so it's not really super broken in yet, but still it's not bad. It's it's not total guillotine drop shutty, but you kind of don't want it that way because then it's just going to axe your fingers. So it's got that nice choil, so it catches there. It works good, but it's never going to be a fidget toy. Not what it's meant to be. I have a very good experience with Spyderco's backlocks. They're super strong, which is good on a big knife like this, because the bigger you make a knife, in my opinion, the more likely somebody's gonna do something stupid with it. So, I really do like almost everything about this knife. If I have to pick one thing wrong, yeah, it doesn't have a sharpening choil. That's about it. I think for a knife this size, I had a Spyderco military for about a month. A friend of mine loaned it to me, and I tried to love it, and I just couldn't really get into it. I know there was a lot of huge Spyderco military fans, and I'm sorry, but that's a liner lock, and which I liked that, I guess, maybe better. But other than backlock versus liner lock, I like everything better about this. Yes, the military, thicker blade stock, a bit more, usable blade. But for me, looking for a big knife to keep around, I much prefer the Native Chief. And obviously, because I'm keeping this one, and the military that I had the option to buy it, and I just sent it back to the guy. I didn't want it. So great knife from Spyderco. This is going to be a huge hit, and like I said, I'm sure there's going to be more versions of it, especially if people buy a lot of them. They're going to start pumping them out, and I'm excited to see more of them. A crew wear version of this, I'd be all over it, because you guys know I adore crew wear. But a really, really cool knife, and one of my favorite things Spyderco has come out with. I've liked a lot of their stuff lately, but some of it I really haven't. But if I had to pick my 3 favorite recent Spydercos, it's the Capara, the Para 3 lightweight, and this. This is excellent. Not exciting, but just a really, really great knife. Hope you guys have enjoyed this. I've been Brian. Have a good one.